Hello. Welcome to the Simply Together show. It is chilly. We've had some snow.
Some.
You do know there's nothing left, don't you?
It's raining now. It's all disappeared.
Yeah. I know it came down in a flurry, but it's not there anymore. It's gone.
It was a case of what was predicted versus what I got. Oh my God, that was, yeah.
Was you walking in it? Did you go for a walk?
No. Because at the time I would have gone for a walk, it was kind of sleety.
Okay. Well, it's there's no snow there now. And hopefully all the kids went to school because there was not enough snow to stop that, in my opinion. Anyway, we're here today. We have got a sensitive topic to discuss, which we will be discussing. But just before we do, let's do a quick how are you doing, Shelley? She's in her car.
Roving reporter. I've been out and about in the community at an International Day celebration at the Luton Irish Forum, what they were putting on for their community. So I made my face known there, which was really good. Pretty good morning. They had breakfast rolls and stuff.
Did they?
They did, yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh. So she's on her way home.
Yes.
And we'll have all singing, all dancing banners in a little while. Maybe. Nikkei, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. The weather did impact my walks this morning, and I was a bit helter-skelter anyway. But notwithstanding, that was like, the first time in ages. But no, very good, thank you. Not too bad. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. I'm good. Nice weekend, catching up with friends I used to go to work with. We're heading into a week-long celebration of my daughter's birthday. She's starting on Saturday, I think. Her birthday is next Tuesday, and I think it finishes that next weekend.
Wow.
I don't think I could cope with that.
I only take one day off for my birthday. But yeah, so
it's a milestone birthday.
Is it what?
Is it a milestone birthday?
No, this is an every year birthday. This is what they do every year. Birthdays it's not just one day, it lasts for longer than that. But there you go. I'm sure we did that when we were younger as well, maybe.
No, I didn't.
No? Yeah, Shelley's saying yes. Shelley did.
Oh no, I'm a good girl. Yeah.
We have photos to prove that you are not as good as you're trying to make out. Anyway.
That's not my family's fault, that is. I'm a good girl normally. Yeah, it's the family.
I don't know if
with good being a subjective word there.
Shelley was at a family wedding wearing a beautiful dress. She doesn't really do dresses, so she got a beautiful dress on, drunk. She was drunk. She enjoyed herself.
Very happy, yes. Very happy, giggly.
Yes, very happy, very giggly. So, while
you're lucky I didn't phone you.
I know. Did you? Yeah, we're lucky we didn't get those phone calls. So, we are going to be talking about, because I think Shelley's now finished in the car, so she's going to go in. We are going to be talking about assisted dying. That's going to be our conversation today. So anybody who's watching, if you want to share how you feel about that, please drop us a message. And as usual, drop us if you're watching it on catch up, let us know your thoughts. And it's a big topic. It is a big topic, and we know it's a big topic, but it's actually one that I feel specifically needs to have airtime. It needs to, we need to be able to talk about it. So that is what we're going to be talking about. I've got 3 or 4 people who have messaged me from our Simply Deez group who are sharing their thoughts. And obviously there's going to be me, there's going to be Nike, and Shelley will be here as well in a few minutes. So do you want to kick off, lady?
Do I want to kick off? It's interesting because I only asked my husband this morning and he responded. And then I looked in our little WhatsApp group and I'm like, oh, how interesting. So we both are of the same mind. It depends on what question you're asking. So do I agree with it? So I'm getting some feedback.
That was me. Go on.
Okay. Do I agree with it? Or from a humanitarian point of view, I can't disagree with it. However, because I'm very cynical in the ways of the world, I do not have faith in any safeguarding that they're going to put in place. And I don't even know if it's been passed yet. I didn't check that. I know that we're discussing it.
Don't think it's been passed yet.
Because look, from a humanitarian point of view, you don't want to see anybody suffer and stuff like that. And you don't want to see anybody's wishes not fulfilled. But I'm just too long in the tooth. I just think the further up the food chain you are, there's just, I don't know, I'm just not convinced that it would be, that there would not be any miscarriages of use.
Okay.
That is my problem, and it's the same reason. It's for that very reason that I'm against the death penalty. I know it's not the same, but it is that caveat of the what if.
Yeah.
Is that what if is strong enough for me to be against it? But like I said, from a humanitarian point of view, it's a hard one.
It is a hard one. So I'm kind of caught in the middle as such, very similar to you, because I mean, you know, I think people should be able to have that choice for themselves, because there are, you know, I've seen many people. Oh, where are we getting feedback from now? It's gone.
No, it's TJ joining. Sorry.
You know, there's various different illnesses and things that which when people are really suffering, they're really suffering, you know, and I think they should be able to make that decision themselves. But at the same time, yes, I do understand that there is that possibility of somebody abusing that for their own gain, I would think. So it's a bit of a catch-22. The thing is that, you know, people use this comparison all the time. So I'm not saying that we, you know, with our pets, we do not let them suffer. If something is wrong, we then go to the vet, they tell you what's going on, and then we wouldn't let them suffer. But yet we have to suffer for ourselves. We have to do that because we're not allowed to make that decision. Yeah, it's a difficult one. It's a difficult one. Shelley?
With the bill itself, we've got more safeguarding on this bill than they would have been when you go through something like Dignitas. It is three things that get checked after you have your own kind of counselling service of some kind. So you have 2 separate doctors that will sign off, and then that goes through to some kind of judge kind of system before you're allowed to then be put on the path of then like going through with the assisted dying. And I would say to anyone, and what I kind of hinted at when I did my video the other day, there's 3 things to discuss regarding this bill. There's if you're for or if you're against. But the third one is the most important one, is whether you're for or against, it doesn't make a blind bit of difference to me. What you'll be voting on is for something to be allowed to happen if the person in that situation wants that to happen. You're giving someone an opportunity. You're giving someone a choice. So I could say that I am against the bill, but I believe in everyone has the right to do something if they want to do so. I have no authority over you for you to then say, no, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Or I could be for it and still think that. So there's the three things, and that most important thing is it's giving someone else the choice that they can do that if they want to. From a young person's point of view, and just to explain a little bit what the bill's about, because you've got this, it's gone through, it's been brought up originally by the House of Lords, but someone brought it up in the House of Lords. So at the moment, it's going through the actual first process stage at the House of Lords. That then gets passed on to the MPs into Parliament. Now, the Parliament have got up until, I didn't put the banner up, I clicked it and I didn't come up. I've got until the 29th, I'm sure it was. 29th of November. That is when the MPs in Parliament have what's called an open vote, in which they then decide on whether the bill going forward as it is can then be passed, or whether it needs to have like future discussions and that kind of thing. What it means by open vote, from what I've now found out with Jake, is that MP can vote either what they personally believe, or they can actually then vote by what their constituents have actually been saying. So if they've had a general thing, like both the things that are in on the comments at the moment, you got the for and against, that you've got a contact form that goes through to their MP and it says, I wish for you to vote in this way because I feel like this. So the MPs could take that into consideration when they make their vote. Or the third thing they could do is just toe the party line. Your party has then got this as what they believe should happen. So you just go along with whatever your party says. So any MP in an open vote can take any of those 3 options, or take all 3 options in making their decision on what they're voting for. But if you feel strongly one way or another, you should be contacting your MP by the 29th, so they've got your views as part of what their thinking is when they go in and make their vote.
What's your thought on that then?
Myself personally, I'm for it. I've had too many people around me, both with dementia or cancer, that is going to be what's going to take their life. That is the terminal illness that they've got. There is no hope for any other future actual life living. And at that stage, I know those particular people would have gone down this route. They would have actually taken their life sooner. Whether that be because they don't want to go through the hurt and upset themselves, they don't want to put it on their family, they don't want other people to see them in that particular way. My husband, his mum and his grandma both went through dementia. Both went through a particular kind of vascular dementia, in as much as they would get confused and they would hurt themselves, they'd do silly things. So it's not just sitting there and forgetting, it's having hallucinations and things. when we had this discussion, when he knew that this was coming up, and I asked him what he felt, he said he would take that option, whether this bill was passed or not. He would go off and do the Dignitas thing.
Okay.
Because he didn't, the confusion that the person in dementia actually feels, you could see it in, he said, and when I can remember his mum, you can see it in their faces. They know who this person is. They know that like his mum used to look at him and go, I know you're my son, but I don't know your name. I don't know you.
Yeah.
It's a hurt for both of them that you can never come back from. It's not just that forgetting thing. It's that waves of coming in and out. And the same with cancer. The same with cancer. I mean, my dad's, everyone keeps saying, oh, like you only had 3 months with him from his cancer diagnosis. No, I had 2 months. I had 1 month of him bedridden, not eating, not drinking, no life, and being fully awake for it. You would not, as you say, you'd not put your dog through that. You know that that's a terminal illness. You're not taking your life. The illness is taking your life.
Taking your life. Yeah. Yeah.
Can I just ask you, Shelley, sorry, because you've said it more than once, where, like when you were speaking about your husband, and now you're speaking about your dad, you said when you spoke to your husband that he would have gone down that route. So my understanding is that it's the person with the illness that is the one who makes the decision.
Yes.
Yeah.
It has to be made at a certain point, which could take your. So, say for instance, if it is a cancer, you know it's a cancer, and most of the time you can roughly say how many months you've got to live, kind of thing. But when it's something like dementia, could be slightly different because you've got to get your bits and pieces in before you're not classed as then having an issue and you can't make up your own choices.
Yeah.
We had that thing with my mother-in-law with all her bank accounts and stuff, that it looked very scary on a piece of paper that all this stuff was, yes, because you're a signee on that account and this happened and that happened, but she had to do it then, because if she'd have waited a couple of months, it could have then been classed that no, you were in no fit state to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So it has to be that person's choice, and it cannot come from what the family think or anything else. Kind of going to that, when I spoke to my mum, so she's now in her 80s, the only thing that she was concerned about was how the system itself would work in 2 ways. So it would be that people abusing the system and how they get around that. But 2, if to make it that it's almost a choice that's put on you, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
There's an option that's there and it's not given as, right, okay, you've got this or you've got this. And we don't believe we're going to spend the right amount of money on you to try and get you to live a bit longer with your cancer treatments. Yes, it's terminal, but we might be able to get you to a year. That's going to cost quite a bit of money, but we have got this option. And perhaps if you wanted to do that, that kind of a thing. Yeah, that was the only thing that my mum was worried about. Sort of at 80 odd. I mean, she's already signed a do not resuscitate and stuff. Anyway, she's not ill. But she's ready to check out, as we say. Yeah, she's ready. But she said that was the only thing that she was then concerned about. And it was religious. And I thought she might start saying things like that. And I didn't want to push her as to what she thought about that from that point of view. We was literally watching the TV and I just said, what do you think? And just let her come out with whatever. And that's the only thing that she was then concerned about.
That's a really good point, because I remember when we came up before with the other one there, funnily enough, I did think, but that would mean that the some unethical doctors might be pushing it because they wanted to save money and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But this time, that didn't even come into my head. I was more concerned about the other type of abuse that could come, like pressure from family or any other type of abuse that you can think of.
Yeah.
So,
And you do get that sometimes. And when I have been in situations when I've been in the nursing home, and yes, it is upsetting. You're going to a nursing home to see someone for you, not for them. They've got no clue who you are. You could be another nurse that's just come in and gone back out again. You could be, you could even be sitting there and they don't actually realise you're there.
Yeah.
So you're going to the nursing home for you, and you do naturally hear different kind of conversations and things. And you get a few times, and you're all in it together. We all kind of, we were helping each other out. But it was kind of, oh, can you not just give in now? Just give in and go. Just, you're in a nice warm place. We all love you, but just give in and go. And they don't. And it is it's one of the hardest things that you do. And to actually think that I've already said my goodbyes to this person that's got dementia all that time ago.
Yeah.
I'm going to go through another death and another death and another
Yeah.
death until you actually get to a death.
And I think sometimes if you listen to what people who have had a parent or a family member that has passed with dementia and all of those years that they've then gone through, they've said goodbye so many times.
Yeah.
Each time that kind of changes, and then there's even more loss of memory and everything. Each time they're saying goodbye. So they've already said goodbye. And then they have to then prolong that because that's what is expected within this country, that you then carry on until actually you do pass. I luckily or not luckily, I'm not sure, people will see it either way, but with my mum and her cancer, it was 6 weeks from diagnosis to passing. So we didn't have a year or months and months and months of seeing her in this horrible distressed state. But I've seen other people in that. And I wouldn't want that. And I know that if mum had been going through that, she wouldn't have wanted to be here. It was short enough time for it to then go its natural course.
Yeah.
But if that was a long time, then I know she wouldn't have wanted that.
Yeah. Tisha, I've got a kind of a feeling where I knew where you would come from this.
Right, so I've got her words.
Yeah.
So do you want me to share that now?
Yeah, could do. Well, if we know what she's...
Let's have a look whilst you're there watching.
Because Tisha is disabled, in a wheelchair, cerebral palsy.
Living a good life.
He's living a good life.
Partying and all sorts. So what Tisha said is I think that if the person has a terminal illness and they're in pain daily, I think that they should be allowed to decide when they die. But I also think that there should be certain rules to follow if they make assisted dying illegal or legal? Legal. So yes, so as you said, she's for it, but wants to make sure that there are regulations in place so that it isn't abused. Yeah, go on, Shelley. What was you going to say? Is that where your thoughts come from?
Yeah, because you've then got someone like Tisha, going back to kind of what Nikkei was then turning around and saying that in Tisha's kind of case, I know that her parents would have actually have had some kind of conversations and stuff where doctors all kind of, but she's this, not then thinking what could she be and what she actually is right now. That I see it with there's a couple that I know. Don't want to say too much information, but there's a couple of people that I know that where the child has been diagnosed with an illness, and they wouldn't have a full normal quality of life, but it was then saying, oh, perhaps if you just put them in a home.
Yeah. How many years ago was that?
So they would be in their 40s now.
Yeah, it's not a long time.
No.
40 years is not a long time considering where we are with life, but it is not a long time.
It's way back 60s kind of thought process that was still happening. That was still happening then.
I've worked in that field long enough, 30 years with learning dis and mental health. I know that those conversations were still being had 30 years ago, maybe even 20 years ago. They most probably still happen now, but in different wording. You know, so you go back a number of years, that was what doctors would say. Somebody born with, I don't know, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, etc., etc. Well, let's just put them in a home and leave them there. And if they had access to, see, I might be doing them a real disservice, but I'm just saying it anyway. If they had access to various different means, maybe that child wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
You know, so I get where we need to make sure that there are safeguarding parameters in place.
Because it says for terminally ill adults.
Yeah, this is just an adult's bill, but if you think about it, if you turn things illegal, they then go underground, and people will be doing things, and they actually are doing that nowadays. Now, where they're being found, and they've got so many more problems now because they've been resuscitated and everything else, and it's like, yeah.
So I've got another couple. Let me. What did Jake say?
So Jake was then saying that he didn't say whether he was for it or against it. And I think that's the inner MP in him that's what he was thinking. He didn't really kind of say for or against. He just said the only thing that he looked at was what the parameters were. And I've just brought it up actually. Yes, so you have to have your attending doctor and an independent doctor both sign off separately. That along with the declaration of the person then goes through to the High Court. There's a High Court like family division kind of thing. I don't know whether they're going to have a separate thing for all these going through. There might not be a load of them going through in theory. And then that is then signed off. So it has to be a declaration from themselves. It has to be the practitioner that you're actually your attending doctor, if you like, and then a separate one. So it would be from a different hospital, from a different practice, whatever. They can't be in the same practice or clinical team as the attending doctor. It has to be completely independent, and only then will it then go through to the court.
And is there a cost associated with any of this? Age, I want to ask, even though it's an adult's bill, so does that mean from age 18?
Yep. So anyone sort of like underneath the so it's they know the aging. I don't think they've got anything from.
Right. So what's that face? What's that face? What are you thinking? You're shaking your head.
I know. Like I said, I'm listening to it and I get it and I empathize. I really do. And I get that you say where there is no hope of further improvement or retraction back to normality, etc. But 18 to me is still a baby. They're not an adult.
They have to meet the criteria for terminal illness. So terminal illness has been diagnosed by a registered medical practitioner as having an inevitably progressive condition which cannot be reversed by treatment, i.e. terminal illness, or as a consequence of that terminal illness is reasonably expected to die within 6 months.
And I see where you're coming from, because 18 that you know, my daughter's going to be 27 next week. She's still my baby, right? You know, so 18 is very, very young. However, 18-year-olds get cancer, of varying
I get
descriptions.
that. I think I'm being
If
a
you
bit
also
emotional.
look at things like breast cancer and what did Jade Goody have?
Cervical cancer.
Cervical cancer. That's getting younger and younger. There are younger people in their 20s that are getting cervical cancer, breast cancer, all of those things. So there are going to be young people that are going to be terminally ill.
Yeah. I suppose really my problem is I haven't really Shelley's just read out some criteria that I don't think I've actually taken on board. I think, like I said, I think some of it is emotional. I'm like, oh my God.
I mean, some of it, for some of the comments and things that I've seen, that it's like, oh, it's an easy option out. Actually, it's not.
No.
To go through this, you have to pick your paperwork. You've got your doctor, you've got your secondary doctor, and it's going through to a high court. It's not an option where it's like, I could either take the medication or I don't take the medication because of my, or I stop the cancer treatments because I've had enough. It's not just that. It's not stopping something. It's actually having to go through all of these loops to actually then to have.
Yeah.
But I wonder,
a dignified death is the only way that I can, as much as hospices and everything do amazing work, and you've got the drugs that can actually then help with pain, and that's a sort of like another thing. It's like dying in a safer environment, rather than you actually. I mean, you could even have a terminal cancer and then end up being in hospital and not being unable to be transferred to a hospice.
Yeah.
So your final breaths are really painful because a hospital, and I say this from experience, a hospital will look for the pain to then give you the painkillers. A hospice will then understand there's going to be pain and make sure you're topped up, because it's not going to make any difference to you.
Yeah.
The hospital is, I'll see you're in pain, we'll give you your morphine. The morphine's locked away in a cupboard. I have to wait for the person with the key. So we're now seeing the pain, and about an hour later, I'm actually getting the medication.
Yeah. And I didn't actually take that on board. Mum was in hospital, and she went to the hospice, was only there a day and a half. But it's listening to people that I know that work within the NHS and medical profession, and actually it's exactly what you're saying there, because you're on a busy ward. They can see the pain, but they've got to then go and find this senior nurse to go and then do this. Is then got to go over there, get that signed off, and they've got to do this, and then. Whereas in a hospice, there's more of that one-to-one care. But the hospices, the placements are few and far between.
Yeah.
It's hard to get in there because there's obviously already, there's only this amount of beds in there. And it's not as simple as, right, I've got cancer, for example, and I'm now terminal, and I will definitely get into that hospice. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
Until you're actually in that situation, you don't even know that.
Yeah.
And some areas, like the hospice at home thing, is amazing, absolutely amazing. That's what we had with my dad. But then after my dad, I'm now talking to a few people, and luckily it's not this area because the Keach have got it well looked after. In other areas, I've heard of that the medication that you need at the end, you've got the morphine drip and things. We were given to us quite early-ish on and told, this is what whoever comes needs to have. This is your prescription. It's already filled out. Everything's in the box. Put it away somewhere safe until you need it for those final week, days, whatever. Some areas don't actually have never heard of that kind of thing until I've then said it, and then they've spoken to someone. Then it's like, oh, right, okay, yeah, we can get that in place for you, because that was so much help to my dad. It just got to that point where, okay, we've now got to here. We've got to here, and it wasn't kind of, oh, we have to wait until someone turns up or anything. That last nurse because I think he was only on the drip for like 2 days, not even 2 days, I don't think. But just done it and left us, and it was just as needed.
There's no. I was just about to say, there's no point in having a syringe driver if there isn't anybody to then top that up as and when it's needed, and before it's already run out. You know, so there needs to be enough people around to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And we already know that the NHS is just so busy. I'm not saying it's broken. Other people use that term, but it is busy.
It's been held together by sticky tape. That's the only way I can describe it at the minute. And then all these other little charities. So like Macmillan, down where my dad was, everything, all of that kind of care was actually by Marie Curie nurses.
Yeah.
So it's local hospice on some bits, but most of it was Marie Curie. So if you think like this thing is holding on very tightly, and then all these charities are sticking the holes, and one day everything's just going to
I know. I've just had a thought.
Go on then. Is this one of your challenging thoughts? You're going to challenge us now, aren't you?
No, I'm not going to. I don't think so, because Shelley's well versed here. So if I never wanted to have this conversation, Shelley's should have been what? Shelley, this happened, blah, 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 blah. But it's just occurred to me, and this is back on the conversation we had with what's her name when she was asking about travel insurance. It just clicked to me that would this, I don't know if it attracts any cost, whether it's going to be something that's generally available through, you know, because obviously we pay national insurance and tax and all of that malarkey. And also, you know, like people who have got, what do you call it? Like life insurance and things like that in place. Because I think...
So that, I don't know. Maybe that will have a knock-on effect.
Yeah.
I think so. So I think some companies will use that to discriminate.
Yeah, so they're looking for any loophole, aren't they?
Yeah.
But insurance by its very nature does look for loopholes where they don't have to pay.
They do. So they're most probably, if it comes in, I bet you at some point there will be those clauses somewhere put in there that if you then use the assisted dying, then you are not going to be able to get your insurance. Because they're corrupt, aren't they? So
there's only certain policies out there that have got the
if you end your life.
Terminal life. No, it's got the terminal life thing on it. So if you're you've got your life insurance, but then that's actually one thing to actually say to people, actually make sure when you've got your life insurance that you've then got that if you're given a terminal diagnosis, whether you can actually have payouts or not. Sometimes you can have a payout
before you die.
I've actually seen some of that in adverts, actually, to be fair.
Yeah.
But I was just thinking, just before you go on to a next comment, I know I'm very cynical, right? You could use that new term on me, you know, in my 60s when it should have been there in my 20s, but it is what it is. These people in the House of Lords that are discussing them, I wonder how many of them have shares in Lloyd's, underwriters and things like that. I'm just putting it out there, because that's how the world works. If we do not say that...
Possibly.
Yeah, because as Jay said, it's an open vote, so they could go by their own thought, and that could be one of the things that they think of. You just don't know.
I think one of the, before I read out these comments, one of the things, as you was talking, Shelley, you said about, I need to remember now, it's because it's an easy way out. Now, those people, possibly, I'm going to generalize, but those people are most probably those same people that say, if you end your life, and if people don't know what that means, if you take your own life, suicide, some people think that's an easy way out.
Yes.
And I bet that's the same people that say that same crap about that. Whereas actually, making a decision to end your life because you are terminal is not an easy decision to make. Just like anyone who's ending their life for whatever other reason that is not an easy decision. They don't just get up and think, oh, this is an easy day today, I'm going to do this. That's not how this goes. So people are saying that this is assisted suicide.
No.
The bill is an assisted dying bill.
Dying, yeah.
This is not assisted suicide.
Well, if it was illegal,
From my
it would be assisted suicide, wouldn't it? Yeah. But that's why you need the legality around it, because if it was illegal, that is what it would be, I think. Because obviously, obviously, depending on your means, you could go to other countries where it is legal.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, you would be if you was to be at home like now, and then take all your tablets or whatever, you would be classed on your paperwork as a suicide.
Yeah.
And they, what's for those that know, I do a lot of bits and pieces about suicide, and from what I've heard, when to do the statistics when it comes to suicide, not every suicide will get put down like that, because it has to then be completely seen that this is what had actually happened. So they can't say we think it could possibly be. No, it has to be definitive.
Yeah,
this is what had happened before they class it as that. But you if you're looking at statistics, you can't. If it's just suicide, it's just suicide. That because there was something else that kind of like going on, but But for this is it's an assisted dying bill.
Yeah,
I can understand why from the other side they would want to use the word suicide, but it is not the correct case. A suicide, when you look at it, is a crisis point because of something. And it could be that you're taking your life early. This bill is just making sure that you have a dignified death.
Yeah.
In my mind, that's the only thing.
Okay, let me read these out because time's getting on. So one of our ladies said, I would take quality of life rather than quantity. If I didn't have the mental capacity or physical ability, what quality is there? Life is precious, but it is not life if there is no quality of life. And they then went on to say that when animals are suffering, we put them to sleep. I think it is the same pain and suffering is the same for all sentient beings. Right. So that's one. So both of those, Tishi's and this one, have been for this. I've got a couple that are not.
Can I just ask, did that person want to remain anonymous?
No, nobody. I didn't ask them if they wanted their name shared.
Okay.
I don't want to share it.
Oh no,
because
that's fine.
I didn't ask them.
Tisha made the comment anyway, so
exactly because she was online. She's actually online, and the others didn't. So I don't want to share their name in case they didn't want to do that. So there's another one. They're against it because of their beliefs, their Catholic beliefs. Within the Catholic faith, life is precious from conception to natural death. Many people who are disabled or otherwise vulnerable may feel like they need to make the decision so as not to burden other people. And then they also went on to say that they also think it's important that the government spend more money on palliative care, better funding for hospices. And they also said that they've known people who have been given 6 months to live and then live longer, which is true. But sometimes that longer doesn't mean that 6 months, an extra 6 months without pain. That doesn't mean that they're living longer and they're not suffering.
Yeah.
One more. So they said they've been thinking about it, rejigging their thoughts, and they still are leaning towards no. They've worked in 2 faith schools, which is the Catholic schools.
Sorry. I thought I'd put him on mute.
And they've always taught the children that life is sacred and only God has the right to take away a life. They can't imagine what it would be like to see a relative in pain, because they haven't seen that. So much so that they would want to take that option. And I think some of this is around what people have seen and experienced, as opposed to some who haven't seen that. Because if you've seen somebody that has been suffering for months, you're not going to want that for them.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a
my phone rang, sorry.
I did it. And faith for both of these people have come into that. One person because that's their faith, the other one because that's where they work in faith schools, and that's what they're then teaching children, that actually life is sacred.
And that is a valid point, and it's something that will tie people up into not thinking about what they would want to do in that situation. All I'd say for this particular bill, and I'll go back to my first point, is that as with anything, you have your own thoughts and beliefs.
Yeah.
But for laws to be there, it is for that person to actually carry out what they want to do.
Yeah.
It's something that like with an actual belief. I mean, there's a law that you can't like take from someone else and all that kind of stuff. And you go through the law process if you've done wrong. But when it's your actual belief, if I was for or against anything, my first thought will always be having the option for someone to take if they wish to do so.
Yeah.
Whether it be this assisting dying bill, whether it be like the abortion side of things, whether it be naturally in life, if someone if they're brought up in a religion where they only ever have their marriages are arranged. I don't particularly understand it, but if they've got the belief and they want to go down and say, yes, I've allowed my parents, the aunties, whatever, to arrange my marriage, I'm for it. If you're okay with that, then I'm for you. I'm backing you 100%. But that they have that option. You need to have your own options.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, that obviously if you have that belief, then you don't have to partake of that option that is available to you.
Exactly.
I have a Christian belief, but I also think that government's work is government's work. It's not God's work. The two are not the same.
Mm.
And then some people would argue that with me, I know, etc. But that's just how I see it, because I don't know, I cannot see it any other way.
Yeah.
And it's if the option is there in the law of the land, and you're using an option of the law of the land, then I do not see how you can break any of those 10 commandments if we're going to go there, because that's the law of the land. That option is given to you. And if it is the law of the land, you're not doing harm to another person. But that is just my belief. I'm not saying that everybody else has to practice their Christianity that way and their faith that way. I'm High Church of England, which is quite basically Catholic. And I don't agree with everything. So some people would say,
I want to be able to have the choice. I want to be able to make that choice for myself. I want to, there's so many things that we can do, we can't do, or it's okay, or, I want to be able to have that choice. And that's mine to make and not somebody else's. And I don't even know if I'd ever make that choice. I don't know. But I don't want...
Well, you don't, exactly.
I don't, because actually, right at this minute, I don't know. I have had the conversation with my children around, I don't want to be just there and be a vegetable, is what they use it. I don't want that. That's not life. Like was already said, that's not quality of life. That is not a quality of life at all. If I'm...
yeah, it's not. It's not.
Yeah.
And I think it was Shelley that said it, that when it gets to that stage and you're being kept there, what are you being kept there for? Because really, it's not a quality of life for anybody. It's not a quality of life for you that you've got the disease, that you're suffering with that pain. And let's be honest, it's not quality of life for your family who have seen you at your best, knowing what you were, and then this is what you've been reduced to.
My nan, even going back quite a few years now, but my nan, there's a very big family. She was only small. If you see pictures of my mum, and my nan was even smaller, her mum. She ended up with bowel cancer and she lost a lot of weight. And now, bearing in mind, we've got a lot of cousins, and my brother and my sister would have been the eldest, I think. Yeah, they were the eldest. So they would have been 18, 20, I think. My nan made the decision that none of the grandchildren would see her the way that she was. She took to her bed at home and was saying, no one can see me. I now know a little bit later now that my sister did actually see her, but it was told through the rest of us, no, Nanny's too ill, and I can see what she's done, because then when I went through it with my dad was not particularly big man, but he, in that month of not being able to take any nutrients in properly at all, was a skeleton. There's nothing of him.
Yeah.
And me manoeuvring him around in bed and things, and
it's horrendous. That movement is, like I said, I had a conversation recently with somebody around being moved from hospital to hospice, and if they don't get moved early enough, just that transport there could be the end of their life.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes. I didn't even realise that. They have to decide.
Oh yeah, it's the energy. Yeah, it's the energy, isn't it?
My friend's what was husband for all of about a week. They brought forward their wedding and got married in the hospital. He had a brain tumour. He was exactly the same. He went down to absolutely nothing. He was in the hospital, and again, it was like, why don't you just give in? We're all here. Why don't you give in? He obviously wanted it a certain way, and the hospital, so the Royal Free in London, gave in and said, we will transport him back to the Keech. And they said,
wow, that's far.
He may not. We don't think he's actually going to survive the journey.
Yeah.
But it's now getting ridiculous. So so transferred him. They finally gave in, transferred him. And he died 2 days later. But there were certain people that weren't there. I and if you're anywhere, it was a certain person that he didn't want in the room, and it was when they went. I was about to say your name then. It's like, don't. When they went, and it was just him and my friend, so his wife. That's all he wanted. That was all he wanted. He wanted it a particular way. But he was in a hell of a lot of pain as soon as they moved him into the ambulance.
It's something that I think people don't actually realise, that transfer from the bed to either a stretcher or a chair or whatever it is into an ambulance to then get to where you're going, and the transfer again, that alone, if you don't do that early enough, you may not even get to the hospice, because then you may pass in the ambulance, because actually that is not something that I knew. I now know it, and it's kind of mind-blowing that's actually something that they have to consider when they're in the hospital.
Because from a
Right, so go on, because Nick has got to go back to work.
Yeah, with my dad, when you say about pain, he had a very, very high pain threshold, and he wasn't in pain at all the way through, which was weird with what was going on with him. Or he didn't say too much that he was in pain, but it was that final couple of days where he just wouldn't settle. He had a complete, the whole body, and that was when, like, the nurses were then saying to us, it is one of those things that, yes, it's the tick.
Yeah.
That you then pick in, that you then know what's happening.
So this is where we're going to leave it then today. Would you want that for yourself? Or would you want to be able to have that choice to end your life before you got to that point where every single wince is going to cause you immense pain, you know, all of that? Why should you not be able to make that decision for yourself?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Yeah.
It's a very, very good question. I think sometimes it's very easy to be glib about these things because, oh, well, it's in the papers, it's in social media, it's not in my brain before.
Yeah. But actually, it could very well be.
Yeah.
So, on that note, that's where we're leaving this. We've got International Men's Day on Saturday.
Yeah.
National Men's Day. Irish Forum. Where's that banner? I don't know what that banner is.
It is.
Irish Forum.
Wow, Cecile put a banner up.
I didn't. My hands are here. I didn't. Shelley did it. I didn't do it.
One day.
I have done banners before. I just have to remember that they're there. And last week I forgot that the banners were there. So I have done them. But International Men's Day, Saturday, 23rd, this Saturday, 1 till 6, Luton Irish Forum, plenty of parking.
Yeah.
Eventbrite. Go on Eventbrite just to book your ticket. It's free. It's free. So, yeah, book yourself in, come down. What's it going to be like, Shelley?
Absolute madness as usual. Yeah, just it's with our International Men's Day, we've quite a lot of women. I've been to one today, and it was for like the older generation that were there as well. So you had health checks and you had prostate cancer and you had all that kind of stuff. With us, it is that it's a mixture of everything, and it's information driven. It's real story kind of driven.
Yeah.
Whether that's to bolster you up, whether it's to make you aware of something, or whether it's just then these were the choices that I made. This is how I got through something. If it teaches you, it teaches you. It's very much real stories kind of thing, and lots of information there as usual as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're kind of that part of the week where it's like, it is what it is. It's people are coming, whether that be like general public, speakers, exhibitors, anything. Yeah.
So get yourself down there. Even it's free. So even if you only pop in for half an hour is fine. You know, just come on down. We want to see you. Okay, we're going to end there because obviously Nico needs to go back to work. We will see whoever we see on Saturday, and we will be.
Because it's open to women as well. But the women have got to be there for the men because you know what they're like. I'm waiting for a couple of the men to pop up and saying something because
there's no men there. There's no men there. Or there are men there who know better to not say that. Yeah, exactly. But yes, men, women, all of you, come along. We'll see you on Saturday and be back next week. Right, take care.
It's going to be amazing.